Okay, so we have with us today Qamar, who is standing for the position of President at the Students' Union. So to begin, just tell us a little bit about yourself. So what are you studying and why are you standing to be the President of our Students' Union?
Well, I'm studying management, BA Management, undergraduate. I've returned to university after some years working, and my ultimate plan is to go into research, and I've already spent the last 3 years in research in industry. The reason I'm standing for the position, because I was sat where you're sat now last year, and I was fortunate. I had the opportunity to actually interview all the sabbatical candidates, and by the end of it I came to the conclusion that I think I can do it better.
So there's been a considerable decrease in voter turnout over the past year in regards to the Union Council, a 35% decrease in voter turnout in 2014 compared to 2013. So what makes you think that people will actually vote? Why should people care and be engaged in union politics?
Well, first of all, I think we operate as a bit of a clique at Leicester University. I think we're very inward looking. There's a bunch of friends and then people join the bunch of friends and everyone's on the same Facebook together, and I think that's not healthy. It never has been healthy, and I have challenged it for the past 2 years that I've been here. And that's probably one of the reasons I'm sitting here. I want to do the ultimate challenge and say enough is enough. We need to reach out. We're not. We're 23,000 students, if not more, and yet I think we probably touch somewhere in the region of a few hundred. And I think that is the issue that we've got before us. Voter turnout dropping is not to be something that we should be surprised about. We've seen it coming for several years, but the time's come where I think my skill set is such that I can make the changes that are needed, and there's some difficult changes to be made. And I've actually tested some of those out in the last year and a half as well.
So why should we believe that you actually represent the entire student body? Surely you're not a clique yourself.
Well, I've constantly reached out. So on the Union Council, I ran a campaign this year to get international students to stand for Union Council. So we talk about it, we say we want to be diverse, but what do? I then held workshops and training sessions and mentored 15 different candidates, and 8 were elected this year. So I've actually done the work behind it. So we've got study groups operating with international home students together. The reality of that is people are feeling more comfortable about participating in the democracy. So I'm not saying I represent everybody, but I've already shown signs of how I would reach out in a way that the current body doesn't reach out.
Okay. So since the start of the election, there's been a decrease of 30% from 20 to 13 in the number of candidates standing for the elections. So what is your reaction to that, and why is it so? Doesn't that indicate a lack of interest in union politics?
Yes, what's happened now is that the body of people that were activists has now dropped off because they felt very, very clearly, I mean there's several I've talked to, and they feel that progress isn't being made. And what's happening is every time there's an election, it's more of the same. No one is making a change. And I think the issue we've got is, I think there's a lack of experience. Making a change is an extremely difficult thing to do. It's very scary as well. But having been through these processes myself, I think we can do that. I'm not saying I'm going to do it gently, but I think we can actually reach out and actually develop people, individuals, to come forward and stand for positions and do a job of work. But the fact is that it's not just to paper over the cracks. We actually need to be doing work, specific projects that enable that to happen.
So who are these people you want to reach out to? You mentioned the term quite a lot. Can you expand on that, please?
Okay, so when I, again, sat where you are, I received a lot of emails when we did the election special last year from students who were distance learners. So I had about 60 or 70 emails. It was quite a considerable number at the time. Many were congratulating us, but many have kept in touch. And they've said that one of the things we found from the coverage that we had was that we felt we were part of the election campaign. So we've since been developing a TV channel for distance learners, which actually all students will end up watching. So the students I'm talking about, I mean 25% of our total student number of the 23,000 are distance learners. We also then have the considerable number of societies that are not drinking. So they're not part of the drinking culture. Hence why I'm asking that we have specific events for non-drinkers, so more culture-based rather than around the alcohol. And I think we need to reach out to those societies and members, but we're not doing it. But we need to do it. saying it is not enough. So I would actually organize 3 to 4 events a year that enable that to happen. And we take over the PCG to make that happen and give out a message to those students who feel that they're not part of the so-called culture of the student union. And actually we say, no, the culture is now very different and we want to bring more people in. So these are the attempts we're going to make at reaching out.
Okay. So there are currently 14 sabbatical positions. 5 are being contested this month. Do you not think there are too many positions? And surely this is a conflict of interest and it impedes effective union policy?
Yeah, well, I didn't agree with the additional sabbatical officer. I mean, 18,000 is the salary. If you include on cost, you're closer to 30,000. That's money I don't think we've got. That's money that should go back to the societies for the need to develop them. We've cut society funding in the meantime. So I don't think we need the additional officer. That should be removed. I think we need to relook at the part-time officers as well.
So if president, would you be willing to cut a full-time position?
Yes, I would.
Which one?
The new ones that have been developed now.
And would you get rid of the part-time officers as well?
I would relook at the part-time officers, because one thing I want to do is I want to take the profits that are being made by the trading side of the trust, relook at the profits, and I want to redistribute the profits back into the societies and the clubs. To do that, some difficult decisions need to be made. I think it'll be around sabbatical offices. That's not the only thing. There'll be other areas, but I'm happy to make those difficult decisions because that's what's needed now.
Okay. So it's going to move on to some questions about the president itself. So since the role of president is to work towards a long-term goal, how would you ensure you set the stage for the next officer replacing you?
Well, first of all, let's be clear. I'm very unique in the fact that I've turned up to do the role. I'm a mature student, so I'm bringing skills to the job. I'm not using it as a stepping stone to get a career. I am not building up my CV. I don't need to. So all of those reasons are very different in my case. But the other key thing is I am invested in the University of Leicester. So I'm here with my undergraduate degree. I plan to do a master's and a PhD here. I'm already in discussion with my faculty to be doing that work. So I'm here for at least 5 years. Not only would I be trying to serve for my 2 years, but I would also be part of a handover process and then also the support process afterwards. Because the key thing that I think we all have to remember is a sabbatical officer, and a president specifically, is there to actually lead the trust. But you've got full-time officers that are far more experienced at doing that than the actual president, him or herself. So I think now's the time, before any other time that we could talk about, where someone who knows how this works needs to be the president.
Okay. So if elected, you'll be the primary representative of the student body. You'll be overseeing a great deal of what goes on in our union on a daily basis. Why didn't you go for any of the other full-time positions? Surely the bulk of the work is done under their watch.
It is, but I would say that at the moment we need leadership. We need absolutely clear, unequivocal leadership. And it needs the skill set that I have developed over 20 years, that I have consistently delivered outside of university for the changes that I'm proposing for them to be made. And therefore the only position I could feasibly go for was president, because the president's role is to actually lead the sabbatical officers as well. And I would seek to do that. You have to realize this year, no previous sabbatical officer current serving is actually contesting again. So the sabbatical officers will all be brand new people. They're going to need a lot of help. And I think that help is best coming from another student because of the skills that I offer.
So do you believe that the people running for the other full-time positions aren't capable?
I think they're wonderful people. I think the fact that they've even stood up and said they want to be candidates is a reflection of our democracy, and we should celebrate it. I'm not going to look at the credentials of my colleagues, because the reality is they've made a commitment. I think that's the first step. What I'm saying is that I can enable the next steps after they've made the commitment and got elected, and I can develop them in a leadership role, but also as a mentor.
So it's going to move on to some of your manifesto points. So what is your number one priority if elected? What screams vote for me in your manifesto?
I want to change the balance. Currently, we are aimed at a trading organization. We have premium products being sold at premium prices to students who can't afford it. I don't know if you know this, but if you look at Starbucks, and we all have a go at it, so I'll have a go at it as well. Starbucks, the price of coffee in Starbucks is actually the same as the price of coffee in Canary Wharf. There are people earn 100,000 and more who can afford that coffee, yet we're selling it to students here. So the first thing I would redress is that balance that currently exists where we're making money from students.
So how do you plan to do that? Countless previous sabbatical officers have tried to lower the cost of food. They've all promised it. What makes you a person who's going to deliver?
Okay, I am first of all in a position to actually do it because I've got experience of doing it. You need to understand how change management works and the processes that go behind it. That's what we need to do here. It's very easy. What will happen is if someone like me gets elected, I will probably get told, oh, that's very difficult to do. That's very hard to do. Well, I've actually dealt with it before. So I think we can start to address it. The other issue is that I'm not making a pie in the sky promise here. I'm saying that we're going to look at the profits that we're making. I would reduce the profits that we're making so that that's redistributed. And then we have a situation where we can then relook at the pricing issue.
Okay. So in your manifesto, you mentioned you want to bring societies and sports clubs back into the centre of the Students' Union. If you feel so passionate about wanting students to grow socially through the involvement of societies, shouldn't you have run for the Student Development Officer, not the President?
I feel that there's a wholesale change that needs to be made here, not a small organic change. And I'm not going to tweak the system. I'm going to take it head on and deal with it. And I think that's really, really important. I think also in an election, candidates need to make clear where they stand on stuff. And where I stand is that we're here to drive change. So no, I wouldn't agree with you there. I think President is the position to do that from. And then after that, you're then giving it to other specific placeholders to actually implement the changes that we're going to be making. But initially, it's got to be strategic. It's got to be clear thinking as well.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.